My beloved child, when you hear that, I am preparing you for a greater mission. Your heart may be filled with hope and yet tremble softly before what you do not fully understand. You may wonder how someone as small as you could carry something beyond your strength. How a heart that has grown weary, been wounded, and endured days when it no longer had enough courage to keep walking, could become an instrument for higher things. I know those questions. I hear even the sighs you do not turn into words. I see the moments when you look at yourself and see lack. Look at the past and feel hesitant. Look toward the future and feel both expectation and anxiety. But today, I want to place within you a truth as firm as stone. You are not called to enter the mission by your own strength. What I entrust to you will always come with the grace I provide. Where you see weakness in yourself, I will reveal strength. Where you see lack, I will fill. Where you see impossibility, I will open a way you yourself never imagined. My child, my grace is not only a garment covering past mistakes, but also the breath that lifts you in the present and the life that leads you into tomorrow. Grace does not merely soothe what is old, it also gives you power to rise, to evoke, to love, to serve, and to complete the portion I have placed within you. It is like a quiet stream soaking into dry ground, causing the places that seemed barren to soften and sprout again. It is like the morning light, not loud, yet strong enough to awaken an entire garden. When you speak a word of encouragement while you yourself also need to be lifted, that is grace flowing through you. When you forgive though your heart was once wounded, that is grace softening what seemed hardened. When you remain faithful in a place where no one sees, that is grace keeping you from giving up. And when you stand before a mission greater than your ability and still dare to say that you trust me, that is when grace begins to shine clearly. Do not fear your weakness, for weakness is not a sign that you have been rejected many times. It is the place where you learn to depend most deeply. I do not seek those who believe they are so complete that they do not need me. I seek hearts that know how to open, that know how to admit they need guidance, that allow my power to do what they cannot do by themselves. There were people who once trembled before the call, who felt they had no words, no strength, no position, no perfect preparation. Yet when they placed their hand in mine, I used that very smallness to accomplish great things. So it is with you. Your unhealed wounds do not make you useless. When touched by me, they can become places where you learn deeper compassion for others. The seasons in which you stumble do not remove your value. When you know how to return, they become testimonies that my mercy can lift the fallen and make them stand firmer than before. In the next 7 days, I want you to learn to walk not by straining, but by relying. There will be times when you feel your words are not enough, but be at peace. For sincerity touched by grace can travel farther than eloquent speech. There will be times when your heart feels weary, but do not quickly conclude that you have failed. See it as an invitation to return to the source of new strength. There will be moments when you must choose between fear and faith, between an old habit and a new step, between withdrawing into yourself or opening your heart so I may use you. Each of these moments is a small lesson in grace. You do not need to know the entire road. You only need to take the next step in gentle obedience. When you step, I will lift. When you trust, I will open. When you persevere, I will add strength. My grace is not only enough for you to survive difficult days, but abundant enough for you to become a blessing to many. The holy messengers are seeing what you have not yet seen, how grace is quietly operating in the very ordinary corners of your life. They see that when you pray in weariness, new strength is being poured within. They see that when you choose silence instead of answering in anger, Maturity is being formed. They see that when you give something small with a pure heart, I make it a seed with power to sprout in someone else's life. They also see the times when you thought you were only trying to endure. Yet in truth, I was training you to carry peace into disturbed places, hope into dry places, and light into places where many have become accustomed to shadows. You do not see the whole picture, but I do. And I say to you that not one faithful step of yours is useless. My beloved child, the mission I entrust is often greater than your strength, because if it only matched your ability, you would easily think you had accomplished everything yourself. But when you know it is beyond you, you learn to live closer to me. Listen more carefully, pray more deeply, and walk more humbly. Do not ask only for an easy road. Ask for a heart that always knows how to cling to me on every path. Do not ask to be exempt from every trial. Ask for grace to pass through trials without losing your purity. Do not ask for everyone to understand you immediately. Ask for a love enduring enough to continue doing what is right, even before you are recognized. When you live this way, the mission will no longer be a burden that crushes you, but a place where grace lifts you day by day. Now I want you to understand one more important thing. The mission you carry does not stop within one lifetime. What I am doing through you is not only a private story between you and me, but a stream that can flow beyond the limits of time, touching your family, your community, of future generations, and even people you have never met. A prayer today may become shade for tomorrow. A faithful decision in the present may open a path for someone else in the future. An obedience that seems simple may become the beginning of blessings that spread farther than you imagine. You do not live only for today. You live before my presence with a vision longer than your own life. Look at how I often use one obedient person to open blessing for many. One person only heard the call and left what was familiar. Yet that obedience became the beginning of a great unfolding. One person only chose loyalty to a loved one in poverty. Yet that choice was placed by me into a noble story. One person wrote words while confined, yet those words continued to strengthen generations afterward. Do you see? What is small, when placed in my hands, is no longer small. A faithful moment, when placed within grace, can echo far beyond the day in which you are living. Therefore, do not despise hidden things. Do not think that prayer in a small room is useless. Do not think that sacrifices no one knows about are unseen. Do not think that continuing to love, continuing to forgive, continuing to keep yourself in the light is ordinary and without value. In heaven, these things are seen as precious stones being placed into the foundation of a sacred legacy. True legacy is not only wealth, reputation, or works that people can count. Those things may change, fade, and disappear. True legacy is the faith you leave behind, the love you pass on, the faithfulness you sow into the atmosphere of your family and those around you. When you live with your eyes turned toward me, those who come after will learn where the source of light is. When you stand firm in trial, they will know that peace does not come from favorable circumstances, but from a heart anchored in me. In the next 7 days, I want you to live with the awareness that each day is a field for sowing seeds. When you encourage someone, you sow a seed of hope. When you choose forgiveness, you sow a seed of peace. When you do good in secret, you sow a seed of love. When you guard your eyes from what darkens the heart, you sow a seed of purity for yourself and for those learning from your life. You may not see the harvest immediately. The soil may still be silent. The seed may still lie deep, and everything may appear unchanged. But I am the one who knows the season and knows how to make what is sown in faith blossom at the right time. One day, Someone will walk more steadily because of the footprints you left. Someone will choose the light because they once saw you choose the light. Someone will believe grace is real because they saw grace carry you through difficult days. My child, do not let present weariness make you forget the long vision. When you want to give up, remember that there are people who will be encouraged by your perseverance. When you think you cannot do anything great, remember that I often use small seeds to nourish wide seasons. When the mission seems too high, remember that my grace is higher still. I am not only calling you to complete a task, I am inviting you to leave an unfading mark in the light. Work may come to an end, but the legacy of a faithful life will continue to speak. Walk on, my beloved child, not as one who must carry everything alone, but as one who is covered. Let grace become your breath, faithfulness become your footprints, and my love through you become a lamp for many generations that have not yet entered tomorrow. My beloved child, I do not purify you so that you may stand alone in life, but so that you may become a living part of the work of love I am building among many people. What I do in you never stops at personal peace. For light, once kindled, is not born to shine only for itself, but to spread, to warn, and to guide those who are still walking in weariness. When I heal the cracks within you, I also place within that healing a greater invitation. Become one who uplifts, one who connects, one who brings my gentleness to hearts that have grown dry. You are not an isolated island in the sea of life. You are a member of the great body I am joining together through love, grace, and holy unity. Your journey of faith cannot fully blossom if you keep walking alone forever. There are things you learn in silence, but there are also beauties born only when you live among community. Alone, you may learn endurance, among others. You learn love. Alone, you may keep discipline in prayer, together with brothers and sisters. You feel the strength of being of one heart. Alone, you may keep a small flame quietly burning, but when many flames stand together, they become a great warmth, enough to drive the cold from an entire house. I created you both to receive and to give, to be built up and to help build, to be comforted and to become a source of comfort for others. Look at this world and see how much division, rivalry, suspicion, and isolation there is. People find it easier to build walls than bridges, easier to condemn than to listen, easier to abandon than to uplift. But my child, I have not called you to follow that current. I call you to become one who sows unity in the midst of division, one who brings tenderness into hardened places, one who dares to bend low to mend relationships that have been wounded. When you live humbly, you open a road for reconciliation. When you choose forgiveness, you loosen one knot within the community. When you do not make yourself the center, but learn to see the pain and needs of others, you are allowing my love to become the bond that joins broken pieces together again. Even so, do not be naive and think that community is always easy. Where there are people, there will be differences. Where there are differences, there may at times be friction, misunderstanding, disappointment, and hurt, but it is there that true love is tested and matured. Love is not only gentleness when everything is favorable, but patience when misunderstood, softness of heart when there is reason to close up, the choice to build instead of tear down, and the commitment to preserve unity without losing truth. I do not tell you to endure everything blindly, but I teach you to love with wisdom, to set boundaries with peace, to correct wrongs with humility, and to support others with mercy. A community led by me is not a place without cracks, but a place where cracks are brought into the light to be healed. Do not underestimate your small part. Sometimes you may think that one word of encouragement changes nothing. One gesture of care is not large enough. One quiet presence will be remembered by no one. But I see differently from you. One drop of water can soften dry ground. One small ray of light is enough to make a dark room no longer completely dark. A word you speak in love can keep someone from giving up. One time of listening without judgment can open a door for someone else to dare to live truthfully. A hidden act of kindness can sow into a heart a new belief that they are still seen, still valued, still not forgotten. You are not called to do everything. You are called to be faithful with the part I entrust to you. And when each person is faithful with their small part, the whole community will be built firmly like a house placed upon a lasting foundation. Therefore, I want you to step out of isolation. Do not let old wounds convince you that safety only means standing alone. There are quiet spaces that are necessary for you to rest and hear me more clearly. But prolonged isolation will narrow your heart. Step into healthy relationships. Learn to give, and also learn to receive. Allow others the opportunity to support you. Because receiving help is not weakness, it is humility. Let yourself also become an embrace for others. Because giving does not make you poor when you give from my source. I want your community to become a spiritual home, where the weak are lifted up, the lost are called back, the weary find rest, and those who were wounded find enough tenderness to begin healing again. My beloved child, the community I design is not only for gathering, not only for being present beside one another, but for truly carrying one another's burdens in love. No one in my house was created to silently collapse without anyone knowing. When one person hurts, the whole community must learn to bend down. When one person grows weary, others must learn to help them walk. When one person fails, love does not stand far away to criticize, but comes near to encourage them to return to what is right. I use human relationships to reveal my care in concrete ways. When you pray with someone, I am making them feel that they are not alone. When you weep with the one who is hurting, I give my mercy a form. When you support someone who is weak, I am placing my hand through your very presence. Remember that community and me must be different from the cold patterns of the world. It must not be built on comparison, nor nourished by rivalry or exclusion. It must be a place where the newcomer is not looked upon with suspicion, where the one who failed is not permanently branded, where the poor are not despised, where the weak are not left behind, and where the strong do not use their strength to dominate. There must be truth there, but truth spoken in love. There must be correction there, but correction carrying the warmth of mercy. There must be holiness there, but not arrogance. And you, my beloved child, are part of making that place become a home and not an arena, a refuge and not a place that adds more wounds. When many hearts are united in love, that testimony is stronger than many grand words. People may argue with what they do not yet understand, may doubt what they have not yet experienced, but it is hard for them to deny a community that truly loves, truly forgives, truly serves, and truly stands with one another in harsh seasons. When the world sees a group of people who do not live according to selfishness, who do not abandon one another, who do not use wounds as an excuse to destroy, they will begin to recognize that another source of life is at work among you. That very unity is a lighthouse in a stormy sea, a quiet yet powerful invitation for those who are longing to belong. But community in me does not turn inward, only to care for itself. From the place of being loved and strengthened, you are sent out to bring light into places that remain dark. I heal you so that you may become one who brings healing. I transform you so that you may help awaken transformation. I love you so that through you, that love may flow to those who do not yet know they too are loved. Being sent does not always carry you into unfamiliar lands. Often it begins right in the home where you live, your workplace, the road you walk each day, and very ordinary conversations. Someone in despair needs to hear a word of hope. Someone forgotten needs to be seen. Someone lost needs to encounter a life that reflects my peace. Therefore, do not wait until you become perfect before you dare to live for the mission. I do not send you based on your completeness, but based on my grace. The scars you once felt ashamed of can become a language that helps others believe they too can be restored. The tears you once hid can become water refreshing someone walking through a dry season. The failures you once thought made you worthless can become a testimony that I can still rebuild what seemed lost. Step forward. Be connected. Build and go out. I go before you to open the way. With you to strengthen you. Behind you to protect you. And within you so that the light you carry does not come from your own strength, but from my powerful love. When you live this way, the community around you will not only be strengthened today, but will also leave a sacred inheritance for the generations to come. My child, I want you to understand that the blessing I place in your life is never only to fill your private desires, but always carries a holy purpose greater than what you can see. I do not lift you from dark places so that you may live closed off in your own small safety. I lift you up so that your life may become light for those who are still feeling their way through the mist. I do not wipe away your tears only so that you may forget the pain that is past. I wipe away your tears so that from eyes that have once cried, you may look upon others with deeper mercy. I do not give you peace so that you may store it away like a private treasure, but so that this peace may flow through your words. Acción, presence, and the way you love, support, forgive, and show compassion to those I place upon your path. Look back at your journey. My beloved child, there were seasons when you thought you were only trying to survive, but I was quietly teaching you to become a source of encouragement. There were nights when you thought your tears fell without meaning, but I gathered every drop and transformed them into the language of mercy. There were wounds you once wanted to hide, but when touched by me, they became signs that you passed through without being destroyed, that you fell and were lifted again, that you hurt and yet could still love, that you lost and yet could still sow hope. The very things you once thought were weakness will become a bridge for others to find their way back to life, because they will look at you and know that no brokenness is too deep for my restoring hand. Do not belittle your own testimony. One sincere word shared from a place you have truly walked through can touch another heart more deeply than many beautiful words with no life inside them. When people see that you once trembled but now stand firm, they will believe that they too can rise. When they see that darkness once surrounded you but you still carry light, they will understand that darkness is not the final destiny. When they see that you once lost your way but now walk in peace, they will recognize that I still guide those who turn their hearts toward me. You are a living letter, not written with ink on paper, but written with grace, restoration, and the seasons in which I kept you when no one knew how hard you had to fight. Therefore, let the blessing within you become a river. Do not let it become a stagnant pool. The more a river flows, the fresher it becomes, the more blessing is shared, the more fruit it bears. When you comfort someone who is weary, you do not lose your own peace. Rather, I make you deeper in that peace. When you lift someone who has fallen, your strength is not reduced. Instead, I strengthen you in the very act of love. When you sow a word of hope into a place that seems barren, you are working with me to prepare a season of sprouting that you may not yet see today. Do not despise small things, because in my hands, A word spoken at the right time, a quiet presence, or a gentle gesture can become the beginning of great change. I do not require you to become light in a loud or showy way. Sometimes your light is simply faithfulness in your family, kindness in your work, patience in a difficult relationship, quiet intercession for someone whose heart is weak, or the ability to remain silent instead of answering with bitterness. You do not need to prove that you are special in the eyes of the world. You only need to remain where I have placed you. Live according to the Spirit I have taught you, and let my love reflect through you naturally. A lamp does not need to argue with darkness. It only needs to continue burning. In the same way, you do not need to use your own strength to convince everyone to understand you. You only need to faithfully shine forth my truth, gentleness, and mercy. However, you also need to know that when you live as light, not everyone will rejoice over that light. Some will not understand you. Some will question your motives. Some will envy the peace I have placed within you. And some will try to extinguish the flame I have lit. But do not be afraid. The opposition of people cannot cancel the calling I have placed in you. Criticism cannot dry up the blessing I am pouring out. Jealousy cannot close the door I have opened. Keep walking humbly, without arrogance, without answering bitterness with bitterness, without allowing your heart to be pulled into useless battles. The more light is surrounded by darkness, the more opportunity it has to reveal its true worth. My beloved child, I know there are times when you wonder whether you have enough strength to carry this responsibility. You may see yourself as small, limited, not ready, not wise enough, not strong enough to become a blessing to others. But remember, I do not call you to carry everything by yourself. I call you to walk with me. When you are weary, I add strength. When you lack wisdom, I teach you step by step. When you feel you have nothing left to give, I will fill again the deepest place within you with my presence. What I seek in you is not perfection, but a willing heart. When you place your small portion into my hands, I can multiply it into something far beyond your imagination. Live like a lighthouse in the stormy sea of life. A lighthouse does not leave its place to chase every ship, but it stands firm and shines so ships can find direction. So it is with you. Sometimes you do not need to speak much if your life stands firm in peace. If your heart is not swept away by fear, if your conduct is not ruled by bitterness, then others can already see a sign of me in you. Someone will be rescued from despair by one gentle sentence from you. Someone will find courage again through the way you keep walking. Someone will recognize my love through the peaceful presence you carry. And in all these things, always keep a humble heart. Do not forget that the light within you does not originate from you, but from me. The love you give is not something you created by yourself, but a stream from the love I have poured into you. When others are strengthened through you, quietly give the glory back to me. When your words bring life, remember that I am the one who placed that life within you. When your life becomes a blessing to many, do not let your heart become intoxicated by praise, but bow even lower in gratitude. The more a person is used by me, the more that person needs to remain near me, because only by staying close to the source will the water within you not run dry. Finally, my beloved child, engrave this deeply within you. Nothing can separate you from my love. Trials may come. People may change. The adversary may sow doubt. And even you may sometimes stumble because of weakness. But my love for you remains steadfast, unmoving, and never withdrawn. I do not love you because you are always strong. I love you because you are my child. I do not abandon you when you are weary. I draw nearer to lift you up. I do not turn away when you make mistakes. I call you back so that you may be restored. Therefore, rest in that love, and from that love, go forth to love others. Let your life become a river of blessing, a lamp of hope, a testimony of faithfulness, and a living answer that I still heal, still uphold, still transform small things into great works in my merciful hands.